I want to begin by extending my deep gratitude for the invitation to be here this morning and for the extra honor of being asked to preach. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Deb Whalen-Blaize, and I work at the Anglican Diocese of Toronto as the Congregational Development Consultant. I've been in this role for about a year and a half, and so far I have spent most of my time just getting to know people, both clergy and lay, at so many of our vast parishes in the diocese. I spend my time seeing how people are doing, seeing what our parishes are up to, and what they're struggling with. Our diocese has around 200 parishes, so I am nowhere near having met them all yet, but I'm deeply enjoying the process. There are some real struggles that we are facing in the diocese. We're still recovering parish life post-pandemic, and we're still continuing to struggle to find our place in this ever-changing and increasingly post-Christian society. The church has a lot of work to do, a lot to struggle through, a lot to wrestle with, but our diocese is full of people hard at work, full of people, I have discovered, that are worth getting to know. And if there is one thing that I love, it's people. And so I love this job. I didn't come to this role with much by way of training. I don't have all the answers to problem solve all of the challenges of the average parish. But I did come with plenty of excitement to come alongside as many churches as I can and walk with them, to get to know them, to sit in their challenges with them, help them to dream a little, to get creative, and to take steps towards growth and health. And I do come with a little bit of experience in ministry, thankfully. Prior to working at the diocesan head office, I worked not too far from here at Church of the Transfiguration down on Manor Road. I was there for over 5 years working as their parish missioner and creative worship coordinator, finding different ways of approaching church ministry and working towards stronger relationships with our neighbors. Overlapping that period of time, I also worked in a campus ministry at the University of Toronto, directing music and curating liturgy for an early morning midweek service called Wine Before Breakfast. It was a service and community that valued creativity, culture, justice, and relationships. We cherished and produced originally written prayers, as well as we involved diverse music in each of the services. We also really cherished our time together over breakfast in the chaplain's office. Both the wine and the breakfast were very important parts of the ministry. In fact, that ministry is how I know your rector, Andrew Federley. Experience like this in ministry as a layperson in creative and pastoral ministry has been an asset for my role in congregational development, especially at this point in time when our inherited practices and status quo are not enough to keep us thriving. There's a lot of soul searching and a lot of creativity needed right now as we reckon with who we want to be as the church, as we get to know who our neighbors are, and as we figure out our place in this new and changing world. The results of all of this work look so different from parish to parish, as well it should. And being a thriving church looks very different now than it did 30, even 20, even 10 years ago. We need to keep checking in and finding creative ways to worship together, creative ways of getting to know each other, and how to reach out to the world around us. In my short time consulting in this work, it has been very rewarding to be part of the process, however challenging, and I'm very excited to continue in this work. When Pam reached out and asked me to preach, I was delighted. Even more so when I found out what the gospel passage was for this morning. The story of Mary and Martha has always been very, very meaningful to me, especially for a text that is so short and so concise. But it's also become a central text for me in my work with parishes to demonstrate the ministry of hospitality and its many facets. In this story, we have two very genuine but very different responses to how to take care of a guest, how to express welcome. And I think a lot of people, if we are honest, will identify with or even defend and get a little defensive of one or the other of the sisters. On one hand, we have Martha. She responded a lot like Abraham did in the Old Testament text, seeing the Lord before him and saying, "Come, let me take care of you. We'll bring a little water. We'll break bread together. Let me take care of you." Martha is that kind of person. She wants to make sure that there is something to reach for at any point for her guests to eat and drink. She wants to make sure that there are enough comfortable seats for everyone to relax in. And there are a lot of us in the room today that identify with Martha and the importance that she places on the practical elements of hospitality. Some of us just have those natural organizational and leadership and kitchen skills that allow a party or a function not only to run smoothly, but to allow people to be fed and to be comforted in a way that makes them feel at home. And then on the other hand, we have Mary, who is sitting with her guests, literally at Jesus' feet, spending time with him, listening to what he has to say and making it very clear he is important to her, and she is so glad to have him in the house with her. Some of us don't have the party planning gift. I don't. Or the knack to organize and pull off a delicious meal for more than one person at a time, but there is something to be said for interpersonal skills. Especially here in the church, how important is it to be able to have a conversation with someone who might be new and feeling out of place? It is a skill to walk that balance of being warm and friendly without being too forward or intense. And we all know the impact. We all know the impact of someone remembering our name after just having met us once or twice. These skills are incredibly important to the ministry of hospitality as well. And we all have different gifts. In a perfect world, we would all recognize the value in each other's talents. We would support each other and we would work together. We would work in tandem to build God's kingdom. But it doesn't always work that way. And in this story, we see two people who have a bit of conflict because Mary and Martha, they are siblings. And of all the partnerships in this world, it's possible that siblings have the most trouble appreciating each other. So naturally, we come to a moment of conflict. Martha becomes overwhelmed with everything she's trying to do, and her sister, who should be helping her in her mind, is nowhere to be found. And Mary hasn't even taken a moment to notice that her sister is missing, let alone taken the time to think that maybe she should go check on her. So Martha comes to complain to Jesus and enlist his help in putting Mary in her place. I wonder how surprised Martha might have been by the response that Jesus gave her. He declined to admonish or redirect Mary, but instead challenges Martha to reflect on herself. He tells her, "You are worried and distracted by many things," suggesting that perhaps she's gone past the point of caring for her guests and is now just keeping herself away from them, keeping herself separate. There are times when we rely on tasks to communicate our love. We're not sure how else to do it. There are times when we rely on those tasks to express our devotion to someone. But there comes a point when we need to stop the busyness, to turn off the stove, leave the dishes till later, and just sit with our guests. Sit with those that we love. Any of you who have hosted your family, perhaps, for the holidays, or guests for a family gathering, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you have to choose to just let go of a few of those great ideas that you had, because if you do all of the work of all of the tasks, your guests will not see you. And you are who they have come to see. Jesus didn't accept the invitation to Mary and Martha's home so he could be waited on hand and foot. He said yes because he wanted to spend time with his friends. I think this applies to our churches as well. In all of the reports assessing church growth and what helps that to happen, none of the data indicates that people begin attending a church regularly because of the coffee or the cake. They might enjoy it, but they come and maybe return over and over because they have found somewhere that they feel seen. They have found a place where they feel like they might belong. And because someone is glad to see them when they walk through the door. Relationships are blessed by service. It is important for us to serve and to care for one another. But depth in a relationship comes through quality time. When we check in and find out how we are doing, relating to each other's struggles, laughing together. I think we need to remember not to paddle too hard up on the surface. We need to relax a little and maybe sink below the surface from time to time and explore how deep a relationship can go. And I think this is what Jesus is talking about when he says that Mary has chosen what cannot be taken away from her. The church, your church, St. Clement's, is a place where we can delight in the presence of God and in the presence of one another. I hope that when you come to church, you feel that God delights in your presence and that others delight in your presence. And this is not meant to be an exclusive experience. We are meant to continue to invite others into it. And if we're going to succeed at welcoming others, we need a multi-dimensional hospitality that both entices people to come and accept our invitation in the first place, but also to stay a while. If I may share my professional opinion, for what it's worth, I think you folks here at St. Clement's are doing a fantastic job. I know you work hard at hospitality. I had a little bit of coffee this morning and had some great conversations over it. But also, prior to the pandemic, I actually was part of your Christianity 101 midweek programming. If I look familiar, that's probably why. And so I saw your work on a regular basis for a while there. Those meal times in the midweek evenings were probably my favorite part, but it wasn't just because of how delicious the food was. I had a lot of lovely conversations with people. I felt like I got to know members of the community while sharing that meal with you all. I also took a look at your website yesterday just to see what was there. I loved seeing all those lovely photos of your staff team, and not just your priests, but the groundskeeper, the tech people, the administrators. All of these are faces worth looking out for when visiting. And something else that stood out to me was that you list your parish council on the Who We Are page. What I found very interesting and very, very encouraging are the various titles of the chair people on that parish council. They tell me, as a visitor and as someone in congregational development, the things that you as a parish are putting your energy towards, what you are focusing on. You have a chair of the worship experience, a chair of reaching out, and this is my personal favorite, a chair of deepening relationships with one another. And there are more. This is clearly a very intentional church, a thoughtful place that obviously takes time to assess how you are doing, how you can do better, and then taking the actual steps needed to get there. I hope you will continue to work like this. I trust that you will, to serve one another, to reach out, to deepen your relationships, because these are things that not only bless the church, but they bless the world, and they bless the heart of God. Well done.